Hey there guys, this is DJ Slope from Slope's Adventures, back once again, but this time doing something a little bit different as I've brought along a good friend, Andrew Dalton. How you doing, Andrew?
Oh, fantastic, Dan. Absolutely fantastic. Great to be here. Yeah, I really love theme parks.
Yeah.
My favourite, but hey, I love all theme parks. Been going to them since I was very little. Had a bit of a break in recent years, and even more recent years, really got back into it big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, me and Andrew talk behind the scenes quite often about what's going on in the worlds of theme park. We're both big Disney addicts, and we like, you know, all the big theme parks from Universal and stuff. But we've grown up in the UK, so Merlin is quite close to our heart as well. And there's quite a lot to talk about in regards to Merlin, and I thought that's what we do today. We talk about this privately, so now, look, hey, let's just put it out there and see what you guys think as well. Very much a very opinion-based video for today. Absolutely.
I mean, it's, well, Merlin, they're the guys. They own everything in the UK. They are. Yeah. They're the Tesco of and entertainment companies in the UK. They're everywhere on everything, ranging from your big theme parks like Alton Towers to the places your parents drag you to like Windsor Castle and everything in between. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Not a lot of people realise just how big Merlin is. I mean, obviously in the UK, we know who they are. They're the people that look after Chessington, Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Legoland. They're the four big theme parks that we have here in the UK. You've got a couple of smaller ones like Portins Park, which they're not a part of, and a few other little ones here and there, but they're the four big ones we have, and Merlin are in charge of all of them. They have the monopoly on theme parks in the UK in a big way, but there's quite a lot more to Merlin than just those four theme parks, and not many people realise that. No, they don't. They don't realise that it's sea life centres, as I said, stately things like Windsor Castle, those kind of things. You've got the London Dungeon, even the London Eye is a Merlin, the big Ferris wheel from the Millennium in London. And again, that's a very, very interesting thing we might discuss later, right down to your regular theme parks. But then we've got, the pinnacle of UK theme parks has always been Alton Towers. That's been the Disneyland, the Disney World of the. If we go back to the adverts in the 80s with Terry Wogan, that's it. One of the selling points for Alton Towers was it's a lot closer than Disneyland. Not quite sure. That's very much your mum saying we have McDonald's at home. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Nailed it. Nailed it on the head.
So come along to Alton Towers. It's a lot nearer than Disneyland. Wherever you are, it's a lot nearer than you think.
But yeah, Merlin aren't just in the UK, they're all over the world. Legoland's the obvious one. There are Legolands everywhere, absolutely everywhere. They're all over the place. Arizona, New York's one of the newer ones. Obviously in the UK, we've got ones like Windsor's the big one that we have over here. But yeah, they are literally everywhere. Dubai's got one, Malaysia, Korea, Japan. There's loads of them out there, absolutely loads, and Merlin own all of those. In fact, the one in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, used to be Cypress Gardens, something I went to back in the, when would I have gone to that, 95-ish? Essentially a glorified but very pretty garden that obviously couldn't compete with the big boys out in Florida with your Disneys and Universals. And yeah, Merlin bought it out, and it's now just a very pretty Legoland. It's a very nice Legoland. I've been there, but yeah. Well, it's. I don't know if it's a bit of a thing with Legolands, to be honest, because don't forget the UK Legoland was the failed Windsor Safari Park. Oh wow! Yes, I did forget that. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, they're all over the place, and like you said, they also look after like the London Eye here in the UK. There's the Sydney one as well. They are big. How big? Well, if we go over to, I'll just open up this link here. The NAPHA, which is the National Amusement Park Historical Association. Merlin are just behind Disney in regards to how big they are as a company. You've got Disney at #1, so obviously you've got all the iconic parks there. Your Animal Kingdom, your Magic Kingdom, even things like Blizzard Beach would be classed in there. Your Tokyo Disneys, Shanghai, Disneyland Paris, my local one, all the Florida ones, all of that. So you've got Disney at #1, then you've got the Merlin Entertainment Group at #2. 3, you've got the OCT Enterprises, so that's very much a heavy China. Yeah,
You know, I mean, I'd love to see some of the parks in China. They're quite incredible.
Potentially, we'll do a video about that one day.
Well, maybe one day.
Maybe. So yeah, they look after the Happy Valley, and then under number 3, that's where Universal comes in. It just shows how big Merlin are. They're 2 above Universal, and when people talk about theme parks, it's Disney and Universal. No, Merlin are actually a bigger company than Universal. Which brings us on to the sad realization that Merlin Entertainment is cutting 75% of its entertainment budget, which is pretty ridiculous.
That's pretty terrible. I mean, here's a question I'm going to ask you. At what point does Alton Towers and Chessington, etc., stop being a theme park and just become an amusement park?
100%. 100%. And that's this is the thing that I've been struggling with. Because in the UK, we might be getting a Universal United Kingdom, but are we the right market for it? Is the UK someone that just wants to go to theme parks just to go on the rides? They don't care about the entertainment. They don't care about the stage shows or the characters that go around the park. Or is it because we haven't actually been shown how it's done properly? You know what I mean? So dropping 75%, I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the things is we're quite different compared to a lot of people out there. We've been fortunate enough that we've been to actually some of the world's best theme parks.
Yeah,
where we've had not just the incredible rides that have cost hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars or whatever currency they cost to build, but we've actually had the immersive experience where you have the staff and the theming. It's not just a roller coaster slapped in the middle of a park with someone saying "get in the queue." Where the whole land is in a land, etc. And that, I feel, that adds to the immersion.
Oh, 100%.
I think this is going to cut down on the magic with Merlin, with what little magic they had.
Yeah, 100%. It's putting the theme in theme park. It's something that I've always chewed my friends' ears off when I go, where's the theming of this? Yes, it's a very nice roller coaster, excellent, well done, but where's the theming to this? You know, I personally think the theming is just as important as having the ride with the first the biggest drop or whatever it may be. That's all very good, but the other half of it needs to be the theming, and Merlin is cutting 75% of that. So if you're like us and you're in that same camp, then this is quite painful to hear. But again, if you're someone that just cares about the rides, maybe you don't care about the fact that they're losing 75% of their theme. In fact, when I spoke to my friends in a local WhatsApp group that I'm in, and I said, oh my God, that they're losing 75% of their theming, the first one I got back, the first response I got back was, what theming? Because in the UK, the theming isn't that good at theme parks, sadly.
Well, I think that's going to be an interesting thing also, referring back to Universal when they open in the UK. If Universal follow the model of America, which I really hope they do.
Yeah.
We may have Doc Brown driving the DeLorean around and talking to people and in character, and have just so many of the things we've seen abroad. We could have people, dinosaur handlers with puppet dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But the question I've got is, on UK soil, are the Brits prepared for that?
Exactly, and it's a big question, and I think that's the biggest question that people aren't asking when it comes to Universal coming to the UK. Is it going to be a success? Because I don't know if the UK are ready for I don't know if they're ever going to be ready, because every region is different. Every region is different when it comes to theme parks. A perfect example was when Disneyland Paris came to, obviously Paris. They didn't expect to have so many travel agents, which was a bigger thing in the UK in the 80s and 90s, expecting a cut from the actual sales. So they had to take that into account, but they only realised that after they, built the park, and it took them a long time to get their money back on Disneyland Paris, an extremely long time, in fact. And that was one of, not the only, but one of the key factors as to why they didn't make that money back as quick as they wanted. In the UK, so everywhere around the world, it's different. Every region is very different when it comes to these sort of places.
But it's also the British sensibilities, isn't it? Are we prepared? I mean, are we prepared to be silly and play along? I know you are, and I will.
Yeah.
You'll meet. You did a video before. You met Genie from Aladdin in Disneyland Paris, and you're quite happy to talk to Genie about what was the better game of.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you'll get a lot of. But our British people, where we tend to often be a little more straight-laced, are we not going to maybe be as willing to, because we're in more,
get sucked into the immersion?
Okay, yeah. Are we not willing to give ourselves? So I don't know. But then going back to the Alton Towers, Chessington, Thorpe Park, all the Merlin Group, got this entertainment. Are they really going to end up being that much different from the likes of Blackpool, Pleasure Beach, and even a big fun fair?
Yeah. I think it may get worse than that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Here's some facts regarding this whole, what we've called the sad state of Merlin, because it really is the sad state of Merlin. So, guests are spending, guest spending has gone down considerably, and that hasn't been a recent thing. It's been going down for the longest time. I will say that when I last went to Alton Towers, I actually did think that the branding was really on point when you went to the shops. In some cases, it actually beat what we had, what I found in Florida. There was all really good, like, you know, if you wanted to collect all the roller coasters as like pins or magnets or cups, or even defunct rides, you know, that aren't there anymore, they had branding for that. You could buy t-shirts on that. So I think that the branding was really good. However, guest spending has gone down, and that's been the case for the longest time. That may have, you know, contributed to this 75% cut. It's just worth, you know, bringing up. It was brought up back in November of last year that Merlin Magic Making, which is essentially, it's crazy to say this, but they're like the, what do they call, the Imagineers of Alton Towers. Yeah. That may be going under as of November 2024. The best way I can describe Merlin Magic Making, or I suppose Imagineers, which is insane to put them in the same sentence because they're really very different leagues. But, you know, a big roller coaster or a ride or whatever will come in from a third party company. That's the same no matter what theme park you go to, but it's these guys, Merlin Magic Making, that will add the theming and add all of the branding and make it that iconic, memorable experience. What would Nemesis be if it was just a coaster in the ground without the, you know, the Red River and the big eye and all of the alien theming? It would just be a coaster that's not completely forgettable, because it's, you know, it is a good ride, but it's all of that theming that adds to that, you know.
I mean, referring to theming, going back to Alton Towers, but I mean, this is before Merlin owned it, but this was in the Two Swords Group days, which were Swords merged with them. In my youth, I went to Alton Towers the weekend the haunted house opened, the original haunted house.
See, I never got to go on that one, but yeah,
I went on it, and it was mind-blowing. Right. Absolutely mind-blowing. The level of theming, immersion, and the woods around it. It had a proper soundtrack. It had dry ice, smoke, and tombstones, and the woods was properly constructed with trees to provide the shade. I think it was called Gloomy Woods. Yep. It was fantastic, and it blew me away, absolutely blew me away. I'd not been to Disney at that point, and I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, we'd historically been, when I was growing up, to Alton Towers or American Adventure, which were both kind of the nearest theme parks to where I grew up, and neither of them had anything on this level. It blew me away. Then 2 years later, I went to Alton Towers on the weekend of the original opening of the first Nemesis. Again, I think we queued for 3 hours, 3.5 hours for Nemesis. I mean, it predates the idea of Alton Towers having any kind of fast pass or lightning lane type thing. And again,
the good old days.
Oh yeah, it was the good old days. But you're with your friends, but the theming of that ride was incredible, where you were queuing through sort of this creature that was half excavated and buried in the ground, and you had the blood colour waterfalls and everything. It was incredible. And I don't know, it just seems that now a lot of the stuff with Alton Towers, they don't seem to be, it's like they reached that kind of level so long ago where they really pushed into the almost Disney Universal levels of theming.
Or at least for their time, yeah.
For the time. And yeah, it's just, gone. It's just, it all seems very half-hearted now.
Yeah, a good example, I was going to save this for later on, but a good example is when I went to Thorpe Park. I was trying to explain to my friends that, you know, aren't as, haven't gone to these bigger parks or whatever else. I'm like, you know, the theming is such an important park. You're getting sucked into that immersion. They had a Walking Dead ride there, which is actually a re-theme of an old ride called No Way Out, I think it was. An indoor dark ride that used to go backwards, and now it does all twisty stuff. An indoor roller coaster. You walked up to the gate, and it looked like a big outside of a prison. It looked beautiful, and I was like, this looks, you know what, give it to Thorpe Park, they've actually nailed this one looks really good. And then you had some random lady in a blue Thorpe Park t-shirt chewing her chewing gum. Right, how many of you are you then? And I'm like, come on, Come on, you were so close. You were so close. The ride was actually quite well done as well, I thought. Not like crazy mind-blowing, but had a cool few elements in there. But put that same scenario in a Disney or not just Disney. I know we keep saying Disney, but you go outside of the UK, you don't have to go far into Europe to actually find incredible theme parks that are actually not that further away to get to. Yeah, 100%. But the example I was going to give was the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, one of my all-time favourite rides. That ride, really, when you think about it, is not much more than a glorified drop tower. And we've all been on those. I mean, there's definitely more clever mechanics going on there. It doesn't work the same way as a drop tower, but still, when you go in there and you've got the slightly morbid, is he, looking at me, is he not person there, the bellhop boy, and he just looks at you and you're a little bit scared as the doors close and they know exactly where to stand. So that door closes and it closes right on their face. The last thing they do is they sit. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. And, right now I'm not thinking about the incredible ride, of which it is. I'm also thinking about that immersion you get when you go in there. Walking Dead is definitely not on that level, but still, all they needed to do was have someone in prison gear or army gear, like this way, It would have just added that tiny little bit more.
Exactly, that immersion. I mean,
yeah.
It's not just the Americans who are doing it, right? The level of immersion and theming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's saying in Germany, and one I've not been to, but I've seen videos. It looks incredible. In Phantasialand in Germany, I believe, is Ruckburg, their steampunk land.
Yes.
Oh, that is incredible. It is a perfect steampunk-looking world. It's not franchise, it's not based on an IP or a franchise beyond the general term steampunk. It just looks incredible. But again, theming only works if you go all in. Half-hearted theming is worse than no theming. Yeah,
I agree with that.
And I think this may be something that we're going to see will be damaging things in the Merlin parks if they are cutting back on their finances. And this was something I saw, certainly, growing up. Again, we went to the American Adventure theme park. As everyone knows, that had a very slow death. I went, I must have been, when it was open, I must have been between 10 and 20 times. We used to go, a couple times, 3 times a year. And we gradually saw as the park was dying, where it went from this incredible sort of, you're in the Old West, and you had that iconic sort of statue wall of all the Native American faces, and you had the cowboy and Indian gun show, you had all the cool stuff, and cowboys walking around, and it just got chipped away and chipped away and chipped away, and then it became like a RoboCop ride in the Wild West, like a RoboCop cinema ride in a Wild West theme park, where the guys were just normal teens in like the waterproof Macs on the rides, and it just was weird. It just felt, this is all disjointed and falling apart now, and a lot of the magic went just by the process of either having no theming or having all the theming.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, this may be because, these UK parks don't bring in the money, or they don't have the audience that, other parks outside of the UK. And again, we're not just talking about America. We're talking about, other places in Europe and what have you. Park Asterix is actually, for me, I could get to Park Asterix quicker than I could get to Alton Towers from where I am in the UK. I'm right at the very bottom. And the theming there it's exceptional. It's absolutely exceptional. Every ride has a story. Every ride, and it's not just one that you find out when you've got back. Oh, I enjoyed that ride, I better look it up. Like you notice when you're on there and you go away thinking about it at the time because you're so immersed. But anyway, maybe it's because money is going down at Thorpe Park. At Alton Towers. I've got here that all of them. Most food, especially at Alton Towers, I know this, possibly all of the parks, is now actually being run by third-party companies. The company that's running the food now at Alton Towers, maybe all of the food, there may be 1 or 2 restaurants they don't run, but is a company called Aramark. They've been in charge of it now since January 2022, and I had a look on their website at what sort of food they provide, and this isn't the only thing they do, but it did make me laugh. They provide food to the prison system.
not uncommon for big organisations to outsource the catering to a third-party company, especially.
Yeah.
I've had a look at some of the food at the Merlin theme parks in particular, and comparing to them in anywhere in Europe or especially America, the food is just theme park food, and by that I mean it's the kind of stuff you might have expected in a theme park. It's the same stuff I could have got in a theme park when I was going to Alton Towers in my teens. It's the same. You can get fried chicken, you can get a burger, you can get a slice of pizza, you can get this, that. The food now is, as we've seen with the American parks, with the European parks, it's as much as part of the theming as the ride.
Absolutely. We went to the roller coaster restaurant, which was an Alton Towers restaurant when we last went, and that was actually a cool little thing, and I think they may have a copyright on that. The food comes in from the ceiling. There's obviously the kitchen's like behind the wall up in the ceiling, and they put it on this little track, and it all goes around the restaurant, and then it lands on your plate in front of you. It's a really cool little gimmick, and the actual burgers are themed after the rides that they've had in the past, so showing a little bit of history there to their the classic days. Corkscrew, I think, was one of the early ones, wasn't it, at Alton Towers? And several other ones, Nemesis and Air and what have you. That's a brilliant idea, but what I don't understand is why wouldn't you have a little restaurant next to Nemesis, which done the Nemesis burger, because that would actually bring that immersion in more. But no. Yeah,
exactly. Or if a Nemesis is supposed to be, if I remember right, Nemesis is supposed to be army themed, isn't it? It's supposed to be like this army group are keeping Nemesis captured. Why not theme it along the lines of you get your military rations or something? You know?
Yeah,
something. You know, theme it a bit crazy or something. But that's what people want. They want as much of the food to involve them in the story as they do going on the ride and in the queue. It's about immersiveness and enjoying and absorbing it, but this is what they're not understanding. I don't want to necessarily go there and have the same burger that I have in every other place.
Yeah. Completely forgettable burger. Yeah,
on the counter. Yeah, it's
well, exactly. We went there for a few days. I remember what I ate at that roller coaster restaurant, and I think I had the same type of food elsewhere, but I had no idea what, I don't remember it at all, because yeah, exactly as you say. Exactly. I went to NASA when I was 8 or 9, I think, in Florida. One of the main things I remember from that place, which is ridiculous because how incredible is it to go to NASA, but one of the main things I remember was eating space food. No, it works. I mean, obviously, yeah. Of course I wanted to try that. Yeah, freeze-dried ice cream or something.
Yeah, this is maybe also what they're failing to understand to help increase their revenues, because people will pay more.
They would.
If something's integrated with the experience, because it goes back to the McDonald's at home thing, isn't it? If you're in the theme park with your family, you're going to be less inclined to go to bring your to go to a specific restaurant in the theme park if you can either exit and come back in and get something quickly, or bring your own food with you, because there's no food there that's great enough for you to think, oh wow, there's no must-do dining things in any of the Merlin parks.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and the same goes for Legoland. That's probably the most themed park that we have in the UK. Obviously, it's all Legoland themed, but again, we don't go there. There's nothing. I'm thinking something off the top of my head, like pancakes in the shape of Lego or something, chips in the shape of Lego, something, there's nothing there that's like a cool, memorable thing that, when we take the kids there, they could do that. It's just is a bucket of really rubbish KFC type chicken. You're really going to wish you went to KFC instead of eating this, and that's saying something. Yeah, it's just horribly forgettable and extremely expensive food. Please don't think that we're just hating on them. We watch a lot of vlogs from a lot of different channels from across the board, and these people are going to these vlogs and saying going to these places and saying the same thing we are. The price of this food, for instance, is going up, and the quality is sadly going down.
Well, so, maybe not even going down, it's just not improving. It's maybe what was acceptable 20, 30 years ago. Right,
yeah, absolutely. So, continuing on with just some facts about the whole Merlin thing, the CEO for the last year or so has been Scott O'Neill. He has actually stepped down now, and he's been replaced by Fiona Eastwood. During Scott's tenure at the company, he actually came from a sporting background beforehand, and he seems to have gone into that again. He's now in charge of live golf, I think it is, in America. And I really went searching for anything I could find that he did whilst he was at the park, because I don't think bringing someone in from a sporting background that may know how to run a company is really still the right person to put in charge of primarily a theme park company. I had a look, and I think the only thing he's done is he's got Minecraft coming. That's a great move for Merlin. I mean, and that's the sort of thing I would go after, because surely that's going to be cheap to do, because it's just blocks. It's cheap.
The problem you're going to have with a land like that is, unfortunately, due to their timing, you've got Epic Universe opening in America.
Yeah.
The Mario land, which is themed incredibly. So even it's still going to draw kind of a connection to that.
It is.
Go all in, aren't they? But
if you are going to be going up against, Universal having a Mario land, which I'm assuming is going to be one of the lands we get here in the UK, Minecraft is a pretty good competitor, to get. It's not.
Don't get me wrong. It's a great competitor, but it's the level of effort. It's it goes back to the whole, either you go all in or you don't.
And I'll tell you what, my kids absolutely love Minecraft. They play Minecraft all the time. If they go to Minecraft World and they don't get to meet Steve, someone dressed up as Steve, some blocky character, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as being able to go to the Super Nintendo World and meeting Mario and Donkey Kong and what have you. It's such an obvious, easy thing, but this 75% reduction is painful. So yeah, anyway, he's brought in Minecraft, which I think is a good move for Merlin. But other than that, I don't think he's done anything. The only branded thing that I could see that he's brought to any of the Merlin parks, or any of the main Merlin parks, your free Chessington, Thorpe Park and Alton Towers, is Jumanji at Chessington. It is very random, and it's quite sad, I will say. I saw that 6 months ago. I think we went to Chessington, something like that, maybe a year ago. It's okay, but it's surrounded by like this metal, almost looking like a garden centre fence that you can see into, and it just, this is the Jumanji world. Okay, it is a little bit sad, I've got to say. I mean, they're popular movies, The Rock brings in a crowd, doesn't he? But Saw, Gangster Granny, Angry Birds used to be at Thorpe Park. Sonic used to be at Alton Towers. That was obviously a rebrand of Sonic's. No, it was Sonic Spinball. It's now gone back to Spinball Whizzer. The Darren Brown, do you remember that? The Darren Brown Ghost Train thing at Thorpe Park. Walking Dead, which I've already mentioned. Gruffalo at Chessington, that was a good shout for them. And even the Alton Dungeons. All of that came in before Scott O'Neill was in charge. Some of those, they're good moves for these places, but I do struggle to see what he's done. And I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm sure he's helped in some ways, but Minecraft and Jumanji, there's your two. And he wasn't around to see Minecraft come to fruition. Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that they brought in Fiona Eastwood, who's taken over as the sort of his replacement, who worked for Gateway Attractions.
Yes.
Attractions are a division of Merlin.
Yes, they are.
Someone in the same. And unfortunately, if we look at the list of the things that Fiona would have overseen as part of Gateway Attractions, they're terrible attractions for the most part. They're the Sea Life Centre.
Yeah.
Of course, they're selling off. Madame Tussauds, the dungeons, such as London Dungeon, Legoland Discovery Centres, so not actually Legoland itself, Peppa Pig World of Play, Shrek's Adventure in London, the Bear Grylls Adventure, which I believe is closing down.
Yeah, I think they are, yes.
Yeah, the Eye brand, so the London Eye and the Blackpool Eye.
Sponsored by lastminute.com. London Eye,
yeah. Warwick Castle, a Peter Rabbit attraction, and one of your favourites, Dan, Cadbury World. Now, as a recent visitor to Cadbury World, tell us of how much confidence this wonderful lady inspires within yourself.
So, outside of the UK, you may think Cadbury World is kind of like, is it called Hershey's Park in the States? Yeah. So like, the Americans answer to Cadbury, I suppose. It's not. Cadbury World is very much a roadside attraction, and very much a roadside attraction it should have stayed. It's the factory where they make Cadbury's, or at least the original factory where they made Cadbury's. You can go along there, and probably for 10 or 20 quid, you could have seen a little, like, there's a little museum to the side where you get to see a little bit of history about the history of the chocolate, see some cool little, I remember Fuse chocolate bars and stuff like that, and it's a cool little history thing. Merlin have taken over now.
And here's your snack size bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
If you go.
That's it.
And you can't go.
But now it's Merlin have taken over, put the price right up. It's stupidly long queues, even though you actually set a time to go, which is very bizarre. It's got 2 rides. One of them is, albeit quite clever. You have to, it's one of those shooting gallery ones where you shoot a screen, you're trying to make a particular type of chocolate bar, your dream chocolate bar, so you're shooting berries in it and gummy things in it, and you think at the end you're going to eat it, but they just give you a slab of dairy milk, and I'm like, oh, this isn't what I made.
Come on now, let's be honest, it's not a slab they give you, is it?
No, it's not a slab, it is literally a bar of dairy milk. That is it, like a standard bar.
Not even one of the larger ones, it's like one of the fun size.
And you're given it by some really moody teenager that's just like, rips open another bag, rips open the next. It's just like, it's just like, if you're passing, it's probably okay, but for the price, one, it should be half the price it is, and that's the case for everything that Merlin does that isn't one of the main theme parks. It's a very weird mix they have, because you can get to most of the theme parks quite cheap. They're always got buy one get one frees. The annual passes go on sale in January for like next to nothing. Yet if you want to go to the Lego Discovery Centre, Cadbury World, any of the Sea Life Centres, Madame Tussauds, all of these, they're like almost theme park prices on their own. They're really, really highly priced. Obviously, your annual passes will include these as well if you did get the Merlin annual pass. But still, it's just like, what did I just pay for? What is this? And I'm sitting outside the back of a factory car park, literally, when I went to Cadbury World. I've worked in industrial factories in the past, and that's what it felt like I was sitting in the back of when I went to Cadbury World, which makes sense because that's what it was. But now Merlin have tried to turn it into an attraction. They've just slapped on a really poorly made kids play area next to me. Nothing themed to chocolate or anything. It's just a random play area. Some of it was taped off because there was broken nails and stuff coming out of it, and I'm like, I'm really glad I've spent 30-40 quid on this. I
think for me, one of the worst bits of the Cadbury tour, Dan, is the sheer disappointment you get where they bring you into the room and you get to make your own chocolate bar, and then they say, right, you can't eat it.
Oh yeah yeah, you get to what is it? I think you're tempering chocolate. So they put chocolate down in front of you, and you're supposed to temper it. So you're like, if you watch any kind of cooking chocolate show, you get your little like spatula type thing, and you're waving it on top of each other, and that's it. And then they're like, right, move on. You can't eat it, by the way. No, don't eat it. Like, okay. And they just scoop it up into a bucket and then put it back down for the next people. They don't even try and hide that they're doing this. They just scoop it into a bucket and then slap it back down for the next person, which is standing right behind you. It's like, I said, I'm not tempering this chocolate. It's been over tempered like big time. This is like unusable chocolate in any. It was very, very mediocre. If I had spent 10-15 quid on it, I'm like, you know what, it's fine. But when you start spending close to theme park prices on these things, and then there's extra things that you have to pay for when you're in there, and we're talking just standard attractions, and that was definitely the case when we went to Legoland. Lego Discovery Centre, and Old Trafford. You go in there. I mean, that's just like a glorified go and play with Lego. It's like this huge room. There's like a play area in there themed after Ninjago. Again, it's all completely fine, but the price you pay to get into these places is extortionate. It's really, really, really expensive compared to, like, for like 20 quid more, we could have gone to the theme park for a whole day. Like,
the Lego Discovery Centres for a lot of the parts are almost like paying to go into a Lego shop.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. They're really, really quite bizarre. And then when you're in there, they've got a little VR setup thing, which is only like 4 or 6 seats long, so they can't have many people go on there, and then they charge you £7 or £8 per person to go on them. It's... And they wonder why no one's spending this money, and wondering why they're having to cut down by 75%. It almost, explains itself.
It's self-fulfilling. I mean, yes, so the big companies. Let's not lie. Universal, Disney, and a lot of the American ones, they are expensive. but they're putting the effort in. They're putting the effort into the attractions. They're giving you the fun. You're getting something else in it. I don't mind paying if I get something for my money. And I just think it feels very much like when I look at the Merlin parks, well, not Merlin parks, the Merlin products as we're seeing them. It's very much like they've got, and obviously they've got money problems at the moment. You know, they're trying to turn things around. I don't know if you've ever seen, it reminds me of Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. You know, the Gordon Ramsay show?
Yes.
Failing restaurant. And one of the things you would get is that he said you'll have a business is failing. So what they'll try doing is they'll try expanding the menu and putting on more and more substandard offerings and increasing the prices for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Low effort, increasing the price, trying to screw every penny out of people by putting more, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work by offering, you know, like you're saying, these VR headsets at £7-8 a go when you've already paid ticket to get in. These little uplifts, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Especially when, I mean, I don't have any kids, but I mean, you do. It's got to be prohibitive. I mean, you may think, oh, it's only £7, but if you're paying in the Lego Centre and review your wife and the 2 kids, that's another £28-30 or so. Yeah, just to do an extra thing in there. And that's maybe
and it's less than a 5-minute experience. And it's like, imagine. We keep going back to Universal, but imagine if Universal and another better example actually. Legoland in Florida, they added a Peppa Pig section to the side of the park. Now, if you actually look at the car park view of that, it is literally a chunk of the car park which they've essentially scaffolded off, and now that part of the park, which is very, very small, is Legoland. Now, you can look at it this 2 ways. You have to pay extra to get into that, but maybe you just want to do that because your kid's that young, but the way I see it is, can you imagine going to Universal, but because they have added a Harry Potter section, you have to pay extra to get into the Harry Potter section? It's like, whoa. No thanks.
No, I mean, again, this goes back to the whole, is it a fun fair or is it a theme park? I mean, fun pay per ride usually. Theme park, amusement parks, it's one price at the gate. And then anything normally is included within it. But adding on these extra bits and pieces because it's a simulator or this, that and the other, it's not great. But then again, mind you, even back in the Tussauds day, when I went to Alton Towers in 94, I think it was, I actually paid £5 for 2 minutes back in 1990.
Whoa. Like 20 quid today.
Yeah, on a virtual reality game. They had one.
Oh, wow.
Giant, you know, the big Lawnmower Man headset?
Yeah.
One of those ones for 5 minutes of blocky 3 frames a second virtual reality, not knowing what was going on, and I died. So, I mean, they've always had these expensive upgrades, but
the retro gamer in me would pay that nowadays just to re-experience something from 1995. But yeah, maybe they shouldn't have added that yet.
Yeah, but the point is, though, it seems like this idea from back then now is just getting out of hand with them. It's everything. It's about these uplifts and little bits, and it doesn't seem to be magical. I don't know. I mean, okay.
And look, we understand this is happening across the board. We're definitely not just focusing on Merlin. Disney have definitely, they're probably actually the last to do it with the Genie Plus, which is very, very controversial. Going fast pass at Universal is extortionately expensive. In fact, actually, Efling's the only one that I know of that doesn't do that. You go there is no fast pass system. Everyone queues the same amount of time, and because of that, you're never queuing for more than 30-45 minutes, or at least in my experience. Maybe that is the way to go, but Efling would make a lot more money if they went down the what everybody else is doing route.
Oh, definitely. But then, is this a part of a thing with, is this maybe a psychological, you know how big companies bring psychologists in to look at the science behind things? Is one of the reasons they want to do away with a lot of theming in the entertainment, because they want to make regular queuing in Alton Towers, in Thorpe Park, in Chessington. Do they want to make it almost uncomfortable as possible for people, so they do feel they want to pay for the fast pass?
Well, I do wonder that. There is a TikTok going around at the moment from one of the people that have left, or been fired from Legoland in Windsor. She worked in the Pirate Show, and what I will say with Legoland, obviously that's aimed definitely at a younger audience. There's no extreme rides there, really. The biggest thing they've got is like the Dragon roller coaster, which is very much everyone's first roller coaster. You know, it's very, very basic. but the shows that they have at these places, so we're talking again, the entertainment is so important. So important in those parks, especially because they do break down the queue times. You know, like, you know, if you're one of these people that go to, again, let's use Disney as an example, go to Disney, you're like, oh, I don't care about meeting the characters. I mean, well, think yourself lucky that other people do, because when people are queuing for the characters, that means that you can go and queue for the rides, and the ride queues are not going to be as long because someone else is going to meet Goofy. And taking that away. Yeah.
Equally as well, though, you've been on Rise of the Resistance, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
You rate it as one of the best rides ever.
It is genuinely, yeah.
But the theming on that is so on point that, yes, it has very long queues. It's one of the rides with biggest queues out there.
Oh, yeah.
The queue is structured in a way that it seems to move quite fast, but the queue itself is entertaining.
Oh,
it's so well themed.
If you've never seen it, look up. It's insane to say this, but look up the queue for that ride. I've only ever queued 3 hours for a couple of rides in my life, and that was one of them, and it was incredible. Insane to say that about a queue, but if you're someone that's from the UK and you've only ever gone to Alton Towers and stuff, and maybe you don't understand why we're kicking off as much as we are about what Merlin do and what they bring to the table, go and look at what these bigger companies do just in the queue alone. Even this, like, you know, when I went to Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios back in the 90s, where they filmed Clarissa Explains It All and Keenan and Kel, in the queues they had Super Nintendos and they all linked together so you could play Mario Kart in the queues. I mean, that's like the bare bones basic stuff. If you start moving up to things like you say with Rise of the Resistance, with at the Star Wars ride over in the Hollywood Studios in Florida, like the theme, the queue, I was just like, this is so incredible, to the point where I tell people, do not pay for Fast Pass. You're going to miss so much out. You have to queue for that ride. It's that good. Look it up. There's a whole storyline that goes with the queue. You get kidnapped, you fly off out of the park, you get sucked in, you go in, you see all the room full of stormtroopers looking, you get put in prison. This is all just the queue. Oh my God, incredible. And it's not just that ride, so many rides do it, but that's probably the best.
And to be fair, it's not just Disney. I mean, Universal.
Yep.
The guys do some incredible queues, absolutely incredible queues. They have apps as well, the theme park apps that they give to the patrons to find the way around the park. They have options to play games or interactive in the queue. Mm-hmm. This is all stuff that Merlin could and should be doing to enhance their rides. But it just seems like, yeah, we're going to take away the armed guards by Nemesis. We're going to take away. I mean, one of the best bits they had in Alton Towers a long time ago. I've only ever seen it online because I wasn't going to the park at the time. Was they had a captain, like a sea captain, who went around in this little pimped boat that would play music. Mm-hmm. And he was interacting with the guests. I thought that was magical. I thought it was a great bit.
Yeah, that's the entertainment. That's what we're going to be losing. I know we have lost it for the longest time, but what little there is left of it is going by 75%. To bring it more closer, so we're not just comparing, £150 a day park to Alton Towers. Effling is competitively priced to Alton Towers. When you go there, certain rides, more story-driven rides, you'll go into certain rooms, you'll see a part of a story, and the whole stairway opens up, and you go into the stairs, and you go down here. Now you're choosing what part of the ride you want to, what part you want to play in the ride, because there's different things that will happen depending on what you choose. That's just one of their rides. Other rides, I know there was a more kiddified roller coaster, which was a bit more fun. There was like musical instruments that you go along when you sit on them. They're like whoopee cushion, like piano for the kids and stuff. This is all stuff in the queues, and this is stuff that is definitely on par with Merlin. And again, we keep comparing to Universal, but don't forget, Merlin are the second most profitable amusement park company in the world, two above Universal, only beat by Disney. So they should be able to offer these experiences.
They should be able to do this kind of stuff and make it more immersive, more magical, more absorbing to make people there. I mean, the entertainment, I think one of the biggest things that people forget is that when you have a family and you're going around a theme park, the entertainment are one of the biggest sources of good and positive memories for
100%
theme park. They make you want to return.
Yeah,
like going back to the captain guy in the boat, he was hilarious, racing around, with gangster music playing and little funny clips. And you get the viral clips on YouTube of their friends recording it, and you're going to say to your friends, "Oh, and this guy was going around in the boat, and he was so funny, and he said this, and he did this."
Yeah,
and that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember I queued for 3.5 hours and it was boring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It seems so obvious. It seems so obvious to anyone that has ventured away from a park that isn't owned by Merlin. And I hate hating on them. They, especially Alton Towers, has a brilliant history. In Chessington, that's the one I went to a lot more when I was younger, over Alton Towers. But they've got good histories, definitely those two over Thorpe Park. They could tap into these things and provide entertainment that isn't as half-hearted as it is, but unfortunately it's definitely not going to be. And obviously the big one is Legoland. Legoland losing entertainment is the biggest crime here. In 100%, yeah, it's really sad. But yeah, 75% payoffs. The latest articles that I could find, this is more American based, but Legoland California, they're losing 100 plus staff. Legoland Florida, that's the one I went to, 234. Again, mostly entertainment staff, all getting completely gone. I found that TikTok video. I'll try and put that down in the description if you want to check that out. But the Legoland Windsor Pirate Show and the puppet show is going. The person that left actually speaks incredibly badly of Merlin. Someone that works with them, really bad. And this is just across the board. And I will say, you know, I don't know what's happening with Merlin Magic, whatever they're called, makers or whatever. But the latest ride they've added into Alton Towers, the Toxicator, I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's every big theme park needs, you know, flat rides. That's fine. But it is literally just Ripsaw. A ride they took out 10 years ago and now they've put back in, and I don't think it looks as good as what Ripsaw used to look, because again, I mean, it's essentially the same ride because of the theming. They've just painted it green and called it Toxicator. You know, they'll probably add some nice music in there, and I mean, what else? There's a fountain, maybe it'll glow green at night, who knows? But right now, from what we've seen on their own promo videos, it doesn't look as gripping, as exciting, as memorable as Ripsaw did because of its theming.
No. It's the theming is, again, going back to what we said, the theme gets you excited for the ride.
It does.
Ride more bearable, it gets you into it.
Makes it memorable.
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, I'm just looking up here. I know when you went to Alton Towers recently, you went on Oblivion. And if you were fortunate in that I believe you had fast passes for that day and the queues weren't particularly terrible. But if you had a long queue for Oblivion, right, ride duration is 1 minute and 15 seconds. 1 minute and 15 seconds. 30 seconds of that is going up the lift hill. If
you start the ride from when it drops, like from the boom, like now we're dropping, to when you get off, it's about 15 seconds long, that ride.
It's actually 30 seconds.
Is it 30 seconds?
30 seconds, yeah, because it's 3 to 5 seconds at the lift hill. You drop for 2 seconds, and the ride is 75 seconds in total.
Right.
Horrendous.
It's one of those things, like, when it came out, it was very exciting because it was the first. And one argument I've always had with Merlin, they've always done this. They've always been the first. Like, they've got the new Hyperia ride. That's like the biggest. So, you know, the first of being the biggest, I suppose. Oblivion was obviously the first drop coaster, although it wasn't technically 100% a drop. I think it's slightly less than a full drop. But because you are the first at doing something, what that technically means is when everyone else copies you, they're going to do it better. And now Oblivion, yes, it's got its history and people seem to love it. But look at it from someone that's not been there before. Why would I ever go on that? You know,
exactly. I don't know with Alton Towers. Again, going back to this, I mean, this is their #1 theme park. This is their crown jewel. I think for me, one of the big things about Alton Towers is, I mean, there's actually a photo my mother has of me the first ever time I went to Alton Towers, and it's a very old photo. I was in a pushchair at the time. I would have been about 3 or 4 years old, and it's actually a photo of me in the pushchair next to the car park, and you see the corkscrew in the background. And what kind of irritates me about Alton Towers is, yes, the corkscrew was towards the end of its life. Why have we not had a corkscrew reborn?
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because it was,
give it the same treatment they've given to Nemesis.
Yeah, bring back corkscrew, and I tell you what, that would make the fans happy. because you go around Alton Towers, they've got bits of the corkscrew. The roller coaster restaurant you went to, they have corkscrew burgers. It was the iconic bit of the park, and they just threw it away. And I think they lost a lot of their identity by doing that, because the corkscrew was such an iconic ride in the UK, because they were the first one to have this proper monster triple loop corkscrew roller coaster. And no, they need to do something and bring, start finding out where they are again. Are they an amusement park? Are they a thrill park? Are they a theme park? What are they?
There has to be a middle ground. There has to be a middle ground. And I do sadly think, I'm not putting all of the blame on this guy. He wasn't actually around that long. But I do feel like, coming from a sports background, you're just looking, okay, people want thrills. Let's just keep throwing thrills in there. And bit by bit, the branding and the memories and the entertainment, bit by bit, just get cut away over and over. I personally think Alton Towers and Chessington, to a lesser extent, but still, Alton Towers and Chessington, they do need to remember where they come from. They need to not be fooled by the rocks that they've got, of which they don't have many, actually. They need to pay homage to their classic days, and I really do think if you start, I'm in Alton Towers Facebook groups, and we watch a lot of theme park vloggers and stuff. The hardcore fans are bored and quite let down by the state of these parks. Giving them something that brings them back to their, the history of the parks, I think it would really, really help, personally. But sadly, that's the thing that's getting taken away. And I really do wonder what is the future. I wouldn't be surprised is it too early to say 10 years, maybe 15 years, where these parks are no longer owned by Merlin? They're sent out by someone else.
But I just hope it isn't going to be a case of they'd be sold on to the next private equity firm, who just keep milking the assets down. Eventually they become a shell of themselves, as a lot of them appear to be becoming, and they just ground down to the ground and they become nothing, and the land's sold and houses are built on them.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate fate. What is particularly concerning in the videos when you went to Alton Towers recently is the sheer state of the park. It
was diabolical.
Considering it's the crown jewel of the UK theme parks.
This is our Disneyland for people outside the UK. This is our Disneyland.
Yeah, this is our biggest top theme park, and I find it hurts me, because as a kid, I used to be begging my parents to take me to Alton Towers. I said, we're gonna have a day out this summer, and every summer holidays it would be like, when are we doing Alton Towers? And it always be towards the end of the summer, and we would go. And it was the best days ever, because I remember it was so clean and well themed, and everything was just great there. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's I don't think it's rose tinted glass. I just remember thinking it was very clean and modern. And you took photos and videos, and I've seen online, like where they had the with the log flume, where you can see where they've got old stickers they've just pulled off, and bits of theming that are broken.
There's a pirate attraction there. I'm forgetting what it's called right now, but basically you just very, very slowly go around this like pre-made track on a pirate boat, and you spin this dial, and it just shoots water at all the other boats, and everyone gets wet and everyone has a good day. It was so run down. It was such a shame, because that's a ride, no matter what age you are, you're going to have fun. Like the adults are going to go mental trying to tackle all the other adults. The kids are going to have fun. Like, I got you, Daddy. Everyone's going to have a good time on a ride like that. But it was so run down. Majority, like if there was either 6 or 8 guns on each side, 3 on each side of the boat. Over half of them most times. Sometimes entire ships were just like they would absolutely piddle out of the boat to the point where they wouldn't reach anything else because something's broken on them. You would look at the the scenery around of like old TNT boxes, and stuff like that, and you'd realise that there's a big bit taken off, and you can see circuitry inside just hanging there. It's like, this is, and it surely wouldn't take a lot to fix this stuff up. Like, surely, if there's 30 people working, maybe there isn't anymore, but 30 people working at Merlin Magic Makers, whatever they're called, how hard is it to fix this stuff? Having one guy go around and clean this stuff up. I remember when we was going on air, For people that don't know, that's the ride. It might be called something else now. I generally don't remember, but I think it is called something else. But yeah, you again, this just proves how the branding is so off point. I don't even remember the name of the ride. It used to be called Air. You lay on this roller coaster, and I think it was the first coaster where it lifts you up and you're facing downwards. You're sort of laying facing downwards. It may be the first one. I remember going up the lift hill. Obviously, by going up the lift hill, which is like the side of like a grassy bank, you're seeing all of the sort of metal casing of the roller coaster lifting you up. I literally remember as I was going up, looking directly there, because that's all you can look at, and seeing a 3-pin British plug just hanging down. And I'm like, I don't even know what that would plug into. Like, I know it's not a safety risk, you know, like it's not plugged in, it's not a problem. But why aren't you hiding this? Like, that just looked terrible. Like, the parks are so run down. It's a painful shame. It really is.
Yeah, it's just, I find it painful because I remember when I went to Alton Towers as a kid, and we had, as I say, we had the theme park. The theming of the haunted house, Gloomy Wood, and the Nemesis area, and then I remember another area where they had really on-point Cadbury branding for everything. When they used to have this great partnership with Cadbury, they had Cadbury stands everywhere. It was great. It was great. It was clean. It was just really nice. It had a great vibe in the park, and I don't know. I find rundown. I think that's one of the reasons I've probably not been to Alton Towers in a long time, is because of the state of it. It's expensive. Yes, I know going abroad to go to a theme park is expensive. However, I feel I'm getting something for my money. It's just a case of I have to drive 3.5, 4 hours to get there, to pay quite a lot to get to a place that's kind of got fun fair rides in it now.
Yeah, I don't like the distance argument, because, and a lot of people bring this up when if you talk down about the park, and I really don't want this to be like just everyone, let's all just hate on Alton Towers, but at the same time, yes, no matter where you go, even if you go across the Channel Tunnel, you go over into France and start making your way through there to go to theme parks. Yeah, obviously by adding the Euro Tunnel or whatever, it's going to make the park more expensive. But take that one tiny thing, the actual travel, out of the account. The entrance into the parks in Europe, obviously not Disneyland Paris, but for the most part, they're actually the same price as what we have here in the UK, give or take, maybe a tenner difference. There really isn't much difference in them at all. Some parks are definitely the same price. Effling, I'm pretty sure, is exactly the same price as Alton Towers. Yet the experience is significantly better, like double what the UK parks offer. So I don't like taking this whole like, yeah, but this is the one down the road, so it's better. Like, no, no thanks.
It's a shame. It's an absolute shame. I think everything is just, they need to do something. They need a big shake-up. I would love to have a great theme park, and maybe we're looking at this from the wrong point of view. Maybe Universal will come here, but I mean, Universal's going to be, let's be honest, it's going to be best part of 5 years for you.
Oh yeah, easy, yeah.
It's up and going properly with the amount of stuff they've got to build and do and everything. But first off, are Merlin going to sweat Universal sweat Alton Towers and Thorpe Park and Chessington? Are they going to sweat these theme parks down to screw the last possible penny out of them and then sell them? Or are they going to see Universal as a challenge, reinvigorating the UK theme park industry and start doing serious investment into them?
That would be nice. That would be nice, but unfortunately I do see it, whether they sell it on or not. I do see, unfortunately, if Universal comes to the UK, Alton Towers, Thorpe Park and Chessington, these iconic parks from the UK will now be known as the cheaper alternative. The way we look at Paulton's Park, like...
Exactly. But, I mean, you think about this is quite incredible. We're talking about a new theme park coming to the UK that's going to dethrone Alton Towers as the king of the hill, where it's basically always been in the UK.
Yeah, and I really do think the history of the UK, what we have to offer, like, again, if we can just keep comparing to America, I always find it funny in America when people say, oh, look at this beautiful old house we have, and it was built in like the 1970s. It's like, my God, mate. In the UK, every single street is like, you're going to find a house where built in the 1800s or something ridiculous, like stupidly. I mean, we've got so much beautiful heritage in the UK. we should have theme parks that tap into that. They would be incredible destinations for people outside the UK to come and visit, and they're not. They're rundown, sad excuses for theme parks. I know that's a really nasty way to end it, but that's how I feel. Sadly,
it is. But I think Dan, we've got to cover though the. I mean, going back to entertainment, the Hyperia performance.
I don't know how to sort of say this publicly, because obviously we talk privately. I don't know how to say this publicly and not sound like an arse. Right.
I feel sorry for the performers involved. Clearly, they were working to either the best of the ability or what they were given for preparation.
Yes.
Budget, etc. Nothing on the performers at all.
Hyperia. For people that don't know, Hyperia is the biggest. It is definitely the biggest new ride we've had in a long while. It's the one that the world was talking about. It's the biggest ride in Europe, I believe. It is a monster, to the point where you go up there, you start seeing skylines. It's so hugely big, massive coaster, and that was at its big angle. So the world was watching this, and the performance they put on the day, the only way I can describe it, I always remember back when I was at school, there was this group of girls, and they put on a little Sailor V dance show for assembly, and that's quite nice. It felt a bit like that, and
it does in that video. I'm really sorry. It does. It feels like professionals, but maybe amateur level professionals.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And again, I wouldn't. If I went to my daughter does ballet, and I go to a little show, and there's like all these different kids that do. Little dance routines, and you give a little clap at the end, and it's fine. And I'm not taking the mickey out of these people at all, but what I am not happy about is the fact that Thorpe Park and Merlin should have really put money into someone doing this big, huge show, because the world was watching. But in actually, it very much felt like it was a very small amateur group of people that were dancing when to show off this enormous new attraction. They didn't.
It felt almost like, we know someone who does a bit of dancing.
Who?
It felt like
Oh right, I thought you said we do. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
No, but it felt like the management was saying, yeah, we don't need that. I know someone who does some dancing. I'll get.
Yes, it's exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if is your kid still do those dance routines? And I really don't need to be nasty when I say it, but it definitely came off like that. When I went to Thorpe Park a year or two ago, that was the vibe I got throughout the whole park. I remember it was like Mardi Gras or Carnival. They have different like mini festival things they do there, or like seasons. And I think it was like Mardi Gras or something. And me and my mates were just sitting down having a Coke. And all of a sudden we started hearing, yo, I'll tell you what I want. Like Spice Girls was playing. And I was like, what? Where is that coming from? And there was just like 5 girls and guys, wearing like 90s sort of like very shiny, very bright blue jeans, that sort of look, just walking past us dancing, going, if you want to be my lover. And I'm like, do they work here? Like, what's going on? But that was the entertainment. Maybe it's good for losing 75%. No, I'm being nasty now, but like, it was like, it's not their fault. This is what they've been given.
Yeah,
it was really bizarre. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's just sad. It's just sad. It's the whole loss of the entertainment. I think one of the big things as well is I think we touched on it earlier about Legoland UK doing away with the pirate show.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah.
My kids my kids actually love that. They also do a Lego Friends. That's like the girly Lego, basically. Like, do you want to be a vet? All that sort of stuff. And there's like 6 or 7 characters. They even did a show on Netflix of it. You could meet them, and they actually put a show on as well. My daughter loves meeting them. Like, the fact that we queue to meet those characters, which are, let's not kid ourselves, they're 7 or 8 20-year-old girls wearing brightly coloured clothes. Like, that takes away from the queues that my son wants to queue up for to go on the big coasters. There isn't many at Legoland, but you get what I'm saying. It's really bizarre. They're removing that. And Legoland, it's criminal. That's the biggest problem here, in my opinion. There are so many Legoland theme parks around the world. It's shocking. If you don't realise how many there are, there is actually so many. And removing that, it's bad.
It's very bad. It is very bad. I just think, though, that Legoland UK, Legoland Windsor, is in. It seems to be a Merlin problem, though, because it's across all their parks in the UK. It's across all their products in the UK. The products just seem to be rather lackluster. Enough effort to keep them going, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's very sad. But yeah, there you go. We've done a whole hour of hating on them. I don't want to.
So I don't want people to think we. I mean, this is our first one of these, but I don't want people to think we hate Merlin. We certainly don't. If anything, we're upset because this is our Alton Towers.
Yeah, we've experienced these parks at their best, and over the years, and this isn't just us. Please go look up vlogs yourself from people that from the hardcore fans that go to these places, and there's more like, oh, it's a shame that looks like that. Oh, it's a shame that's cut down. The queue times are now all ridiculously long. Most rides don't open when you first get in there. You have to wait an hour or so for certain rides to open up after the park has opened up. They close at like 4 or 5 o'clock sometimes. It's like, what are we even like? It's a shell of what it was, and it really is a shame. And now they're actually cutting it down even more. That's what we're upset about. We're not hating on Merlin. You know, these parks are good. They're iconic to the UK for people that grew up with them. It's just all very, very sad. But anyway,
I want to see them get back up to past glories, because I want to have the option of I want to be able to say I want to go somewhere today in the UK. I've got 5 outstanding theme parks to go to. I've got 4 outstanding parks. I want it to be different. I want it to be a choice between, oh, they're all really good. Which one do I go to? Not, oh, they're all crap. I'll go to Universal instead.
Yeah, it's a crying shame. Hopefully they sort it out, but I'm thinking they won't. I'm seeing this; it's going the wrong way, way more than it's going the right way, unfortunately. But we will see. Hey, if you guys like these, 2 guys rambling about how it used to be better back in our day, let us know. Maybe we'll do some more. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for coming on, Andrew. Like I said, we talk about this behind the scenes, so it's cool to chat about it publicly. And we'll both be in the comments, so please do let us know your opinions on, what we got right, what we got wrong, what you would want to see change. And I think the best way to end it is just to say we really do feel sorry for all of those people out there that are working with Merlin, that have lost their jobs, and thank you so much for the memories, because it is you guys that bring the memories.
Exactly, and hopefully there'll be something for you. Universal, very strong on their entertainment, hopefully on to bigger and better things if you want to carry on in this industry with the likes of Universal. Absolutely. Fingers crossed this happens. I don't know if it's a good thing if it happens, because I still don't know if the UK are right for it, but fingers crossed it happens. I'm very excited for the future outside of Merlin. Right, thanks guys, and yeah, we'll catch you later. Thank you everyone, bye bye.